All right, I believe we are officially live. Hello, arty peoples, and welcome to another episode of Jerry's Live. My name is Emmy Klein, and I'm your host. And as you guys can see, we have the amazing Jeff Olson back on the show with us.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining us again. It's always a pleasure. Now, today's episode is JL219 for everybody who is out there looking at our teacher's cart and everything that Jeff is going to be showing us today. And I believe it's going to be on Amsterdam Inks, correct?
It is. That's right. Amsterdam Inks.
I'm a huge fan of, so I'm stoked for this episode. So if anybody, though, watching wants to check out the items that Jeff is going to be demoing for us, go to the website, jerrysartorama.com, and type in the search bar our code for today's class, which is JL219, 219. And then that'll bring up the teacher's cart, and you can check out all the items that way, which will also include, I believe, the 3 sets of things that we are going to be giving away.
Yes, we're going to be giving away 3 sets of the Amsterdam Inks. It's the standard set, the lettering set, and then the holiday set. So there's a fun holiday set as well.
Yes. So I did throw those in the teacher's cart. If you guys want to go check that out as well, but make sure you guys stay until the very, very end, because we are going to be giving those away, and Jeff will explain exactly how to do that in order to enter your name into the pot of people that we're going to choose from. But without any further ado, Jeff, please take it away and let's see what you got.
Absolutely. Thank you, as always. Always a pleasure to be here. I am coming to you from sunny Seattle. No, I'm just kidding. It's raining today. I think that's all that's on the forecast for the foreseeable future. Welcome to fall in the Northwest. But I'm here in my studio, and I got a little color here, right? I think this is what we do as artists in the Northwest. We make up for the gray skies by putting lots of color into our work. But I'm here in my studio, and today I have a presentation, as always, to share with you. I'm going to talk about inks in general, kind of an overall look at inks and their history and their composition. And then I'm going to narrow in on the acrylic inks, the Amsterdam line. And then I've got a quiz for you, so we can pick a lucky winner for the sets. And then I have a fun demo, really easy to replicate, and something I think that you're going to enjoy quite a bit. So without further ado, let me go ahead and share the presentation. You should see it come up on the screen here in a minute. All right, can you see it okay, Emmy?
I'm trying to make sure. Yes, we have it up.
Okay, so inks is the topic for today. Again, going to be focusing on the Amsterdam inks, and I'm primarily going to be talking about drawing inks. I'm avoiding today printmaking inks or printer inks or some of those other specialty types, focused mainly on drawing inks today. A couple things before we jump into the presentation on the introduction side. For those of you who aren't familiar with Royal Talens, Royal Talens is a Dutch manufacturer of artist materials. Not only do they make Amsterdam all acrylic products, but they also are the manufacturer of Rembrandt oils, pastels, and watercolors. Oils, pastels, and watercolors. That's my dog, fierce attack dog. Waited till we got started, of course, to bark. Live TV, I love it. But Royal Talens, manufacturer of many colored products, established in 1899, a little town called Apeldoorn, which is about an hour east of Amsterdam by train. So it's really easy to get to. Home of the summer palace of the royal family, the Orange family. Little side note there, that's why the Dutch national color is orange. William of Orange, the king of the Netherlands. So some fun history there. We have been manufacturing the same location in Apeldoorn, and also we have a wonderful experience center there where you can go and try out all of our materials. A lot of fun. Royal Talens North America is located in Northampton, Massachusetts, was established in 2015. So we've always had our products here. I think it dates all the way back to the 30s that we've been selling Royal Talens products in North America, but always through a third party. So now we have our own distribution facility in Northampton, and enables us to service all of the artists in North America much more efficiently. If you'd like to learn more about Royal Talens North America, here are the website information and also our Facebook, Instagram hashtag. All right, I am an art educator. I was a university instructor, studio art and art history for about a decade. I've been in the art materials industry for over 20 years. I've worn several hats, but of course my passion is art education. And then I am a working artist as well with more than 30 years of exhibition experience. So if you'd like to learn more about me, you can visit my website, Jeff Olson Art, or on Facebook and Instagram as well. All right, let's talk about inks. So the agenda today, so I'm going to give you a brief history on a couple different types of inks and just the general history of inks overall. Then we're going to talk about the composition. So what goes into an ink? What makes an ink an ink? And then I'm going to talk about binders. And I usually share this when I'm talking about any of the mediums because it's the binder that really gives any material its primary working properties. So we're going to talk about the binder for inks or the binders that are used in many different inks. Then I'm going to talk about the general types of drawing inks. And then I'm going to go into the actual features of the Amsterdam acrylic inks for y'all. And then I got the quick demo, and there'll be a little quiz right before that demo as well. All right, so let's jump into it. In the beginning, so much of the history of painting and inks, or paint and inks, is a shared history. So it dates back more than 40,000 years. Of course, there's an image of wonderful cave paintings in Lascaux. The use of inks and paints for thousands of years was primarily or exclusively for the making of art. It literally took another 37,000 plus years till we get to the 25th century BCE in Egypt and China respectively, that we started to see ink being used for writing specifically. And it's also interesting to know that many cultures autonomously discovered and formulated their own inks. So there's certainly some shared history as inks traveled, but many cultures developed their own types of inks for writing. And here you can see this wonderful ancient Greek text from 1000 AD. All right, Egypt and China, kind of the beginning of ink. Ink was used in Egypt on papyrus from the 26th century BCE. Chinese inks go back as far as 4 millennia, back to the Chinese Neolithic period. What we know of these early inks comes from direct analysis of the ink. So we actually have examples that we've been able to analyze and see how they were made, what they were made from, both in images and in written text. These early inks were most often made with lamp black as the coloring agent or the pigment. It's a type of soot that's still used today in the making of modern inks. India ink. This is probably the most familiar to folks. It's still an incredibly popular type of ink. India ink or Chinese ink, it was actually first created in China. It's kind of interesting. We call it India ink because of the trade routes for which it came to the West were through India. So we refer to it that, but it's actually Chinese ink. That's where it was developed. And it's been used throughout Asia for more than 5,000 years. Traditional India ink, unlike many other types of inks, was made and stored in a solid form, only be liquefied into ink when it was needed. India ink is traditionally made with animal glues, carbon black, and water. And carbon black is a pigment that came from soot. Much of it was attained by burning oils, bones, and woods like pine. Egg whites or glues made from fish or oxen function as the binding agents. Some traditional manufacturer of Chinese ink added incense and other elements to their ink recipes, as well as other colors. The glue and the pigment were molded together and left to dry in hardened sticks, and then made them easily transportable and then re-liquefied when needed. And here's an example of one of these wonderfully crafted molds of India ink. The user could control the thickness of each batch. And then as you're using it and grinding it into a stone was most commonly adding water and creating the consistency that you desired, as well as creating a tonal range. So really interesting and fascinating media. Maya blue, so probably much less known from the Americas. It's a vibrant sky-colored blue used on ceramics, buildings, and written records across ancient Mesoamerica. Created in approximately 300 CE, Maya blue melts together indigo from the local anís plant. Anís, I believe, is Spanish for indigo, and the clay mineral polygorskite. So you take the polygorskite and the indigo together, and they would heat them up, kind of cook them in incense burners. It was a critical and important part of the Maya culture and religion, and it symbolized the rain god, Chak. Wonderful, wonderful blue color there. I love turquoise, and so this is color I really enjoy. All right, iron gall ink. So from the Middle Ages until about the 19th century, iron gall ink was the most frequently used inks in Europe. And it's often referred to as the common ink as a result. It was made in small batches until about the 18th century. The rusty browns of these ancient manuscripts written in iron gall ink made it very easily recognized today by historians. The basic recipe for iron gall ink is comprised of gall nuts. That's these little guys you see in the middle. Iron sulfate, which is a type of salt, water, and gum arabic. And we'll talk about gum arabic a little bit later. Some iron gall recipes called for additional ingredients like honey. This was used to help the ink hold its moisture. Pomegranate rinds for color, and other preservatives like alcohol and vinegar. Apple or oak gall, that's these little guys here. It's really interesting where these come from if you're not familiar with them. It's a common name for a large, round, about apple-size growth that appears on many species of oak. The oak apples are caused by chemicals that are injected by the larva of a gall wasp. Pretty cool, huh? The wasp larvae feed on the gall tissue, which modify the oak bud into the gall, and then the structure protects the developing larvae until they undergo their metamorphosis and escape through these little holes as adults. And so you find these little growths on oak trees, and they were harvested for the use in making the ink. Pretty cool, huh? All right, composition of inks. So I've got some fun images. This is from the archives of Royal Talens. We actually see in the this is right after World War II, so late 40s, early 50s, where our inks are being bottled by hand there. And these are one of the mills where both paint and inks were ground, and the pigments are ground and dispersed throughout the binder. So some pretty fun images from our history. So let's talk about the composition of ink in general. So the components of ink include a few things. So we have the binder. In inks, we refer to it as vehicle. Binder is usually what we refer to it in paint. So the vehicle, this is what kind of holds the particles of pigment together and binds it to the support. Colorants. So colorants are typically pigments or dyes. Artist grade materials typically are going to be using pigments because they're light fast. Then there's solvents. So solvents are the dilutant. Water is probably the most commonly used solvent for inks, but other things like alcohol are also used as a solvent for inks. And then there's a myriad of other things that can go into the ink as a modifier. A couple of them include pH modifiers. So these can be used to change the acidity or the pH level of the ink, but they also do other things like affect the color and the working property of the ink itself. There are often retarders or dryers added. Some inks need an additive to go in to help them stay moist, while others need them to help to dry. Cobalt is a commonly used one historically. Alcohol is another as well. Then we have flow enhancers. Flow enhancers are also used in watercolors. We call these surfactants, and these help the ink lay out or release onto the surface the way that we expect them to. Oxgall is kind of a historical type of flow enhancer that's used in both watercolors and inks. Then we have fungicides and biocides. Phenol is used often in modern manufacturing. So this is to keep all the little bugs that are floating around the air that will land into the ink as you're using it, and then you seal it back up and keeps them from growing over time. So it protects the ink. So these are just a few examples of what can go into the making of an ink. All right, the binders. As promised before, there are several binders that are used in the making of ink. And binders are really important because binders do what we call suspend and adhere, suspension and adhesion, the most important part. And this is not just for inks, but any type of color medium like oil paint or acrylic paint. And we'll talk about the acrylic polymer here in a minute. But binders suspend the pigment in place. Think of pigment as sand, and you put it into a glass of water and stir it up. eventually, after it disperses, it starts to settle back down to the bottom. So you need an ingredient, a fluid, that when you stir the pigment up, that it actually suspends it and holds it in place. And then, of course, adhesion is really important. You want it to stick to whatever you paint it or draw it onto. So you want some adhesion there as well. So binders typically are very good adhesives or glues. Other things that they do is they determine the consistency, right? And then also the indelibility, you know, will it be permanent? Will it stay permanent after dry? So that's very important and determined by the binder as well. So some different types of binders. So historically, we have natural binders, and we still use some of these today. Rosin, which is tree sap, mostly from coniferous type of trees. Shellac, which is this wonderful image here. So this big red beetle is the lac bug. It comes from Asia. And you can see this little image on this tree here. The lac bug secretes this, and this is what is used in the making of shellac. So shellac is actually a byproduct of insects. Pretty cool. And then, of course, gum arabic. Gum arabic is the binder of many different art materials. It's the binder for watercolors. It's used in the making of some pastels. Tragacanth is another source. Tragacanth, the common is goatweed, is the source for that. But both of these can be used as binders for inks as well. And then today we have many synthetic types of binders for inks. They're synthesized or polymerized from other materials. So they start their life as a type of organic compound and then are synthesized into new forms so that they have different working properties and better adhesion, for example, better suspension, and also to make them last and make them archival. So we have an acrylic polymer emulsion, which is a version of a synthetic, which we use in paints and the acrylic inks that we'll be talking about today. Alkyds are also commonly used in the making of inks. So alkyds are a combination of an alcohol and acid. Sounds brutal, but it actually comes from soy. It's a soy byproduct. And then, of course, alcohol is used. Isopropyl most often is used, but there are others that can be added to alcohols as well to alter the working properties. So those are some examples of synthetic binders. All of these can be used in the manufacture of inks. All right, so the general types of inks that I wanted to share with you today. Of course, we have India ink, and Royal Talens makes a wonderful India ink. Some of the characteristics of India ink are it's light, fast, and waterproof when dry. You can use it in dip pens and drawing and ruling pens and airbrush and paint brushes. Surfaces include a variety of papers, boards, vellums, trace. A couple other notes on these. You can thin it with water to produce a variety of gray tones. You want to make sure that you clean, especially ruling pens and drawing pens, but you want to clean them really well immediately after use because it can become gummy and sticky. They are based on highly light, fast pigment, and shellac is used as part of the binder. They really give what I think is a rich, attractive, deep black color. And a lot of pigment concentration. You can thin it with water, but once it's dry, it's waterproof, like I said, and again, suitable for many, many grounds. So next is drawing ink, and you can see a picture of the drawing ink here. Very, very similar to India ink. It's also light, fast, and waterproof when dry. Used with a brush, a drawing pen, technical pen, and airbrush. Surfaces include a variety of paper, canvas, and board. This is the blackest of the two. So while the India ink is a very rich, deep black, the drawing ink is even more so. So this is the absolute black ink. If you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend it. It's a wonderful material. Many of the same things that you can do with it are the same as with India ink. One of the things that I would say about it is it doesn't gum up your pens or your technical pen like a India ink would. So you've got a little more flexibility on the use of tools there. All right, acrylic inks. They're super versatile, contemporary version binder that I mentioned before that just makes these a wonderful product. So they're absolutely light, fast, the pigments that are used. They are waterproof and dry. They probably have the most flexible and durable film of all the types of inks that are available. You can use them with dip pens, with drawing and ruling pens, technical drawing pens. They won't gum up your tech pens. You can, of course, brush them on. You can use them in airbrush. There's really limitless possibilities in terms of the tools with applying the acrylic inks. Incredibly versatile also in terms of the surfaces that you can use. Think of the versatility of acrylic paint. It's essentially the same binder, just much more fluid. But when it dries, you have that same durable surface. So you can use it on paper, on canvas, on board, on metal, just a long list. You just really have to make sure that there's no oil or dust or dirt on the surface. If it's clean of those things, it's going to adhere and it's going to last. So acrylic inks are really versatile. And then there are other types out there too that I'm not really talking about today, but there are alcohol inks that are available with an alcohol binder, and they can make some really unique type of marks and effects, especially on types of paper like Yupo paper. Printmaking inks, of course, as a whole other category of ink. Fascinating history there. Maybe we'll talk about that on another time. Fabric inks are used commonly today. Of course, everybody's tried tie-dyeing in their life. And then printer inks, of course. Our life kind of evolves around that in this day and age. So different types, a lot of different types of inks out there with a lot of different types of working properties. All right, let's talk about the Amsterdam Acrylic Ink features, and then we'll jump into the demo here. So they are available in 56 colors in open stock. That's these bottles that you see here, these small 30 ml bottles. They also come in 100 ml bottles in 8 colors, and then there are 2 big bottles, black and white essentially, and then the 3 sets, which we'll actually be giving away today. So a couple things on the features of the Amsterdam ink. So it is an acrylic resin binder, so it's completely waterproof and dry. Combines easily with other Amsterdam acrylic-based products, including the paint, the markers, the spray paint, and all of the auxiliaries. And I'm going to show you that today in the demo. It's really a lot of fun. They are highly pigmented, so there are lots of color in these. All the colors are light fast, good to excellent light fast rating. So these are a artist grade material. They are ideal as a water-based material, ideal for many direct painting techniques. Everything from your traditional type of ink projects, calligraphy, also watercolor type of techniques. You can thin them out up to 50-50, so 1-to-1 ratio with water, and create really kind of wonderful veils of color. Airbrush techniques, tech pens I mentioned. They dry very quickly and make layering techniques and mixed media techniques really easy to accomplish as well. So think of them as a hyper fluid, highly pigmented acrylic paint. There's a universal color system. And what I mean by this is that, see these little numbers here on the bottles? These are the same color numbers, same pigments as the other Amsterdam acrylic products. So if you had some acrylic paint and you wanted to get the same ink, all you have to do is match up those numbers. You don't have to worry about all the different names or information that's on there. A simple number coded system. They're completely odorless and non-hazardous. This is another great thing about them. So when you're working with them, unlike some types of inks like alcohol inks, you're not going to have any odor in your workspace. They're non-hazardous. Kids can work with these. They're just like an acrylic paint, easy cleanup, really wonderful to work with in that regard. I love the bottles on these, and I'm going to show you this in the demo, but they're a really solid, tough to spill bottle. They have a concave round bottom, so they're really sturdy. They have a nice wide open mouth for dipping brush or pen in, and then they got a really cool pipette that's kind of bent at the end that gives you a lot of control, and I'll show you that firsthand when we get into the demo. And then you can use on a variety of grounds. You know, I mentioned this before, really durable paint film that's developed on these. So like all other acrylic-based materials, you can use them on a variety of surfaces. All right, we ready for a quiz out there?
I think we are.
All right, so you want to put your answer into the chat. And then after the show,
for all 3 of those sets, correct?
This is for all 3 of them. So one winner gets all 3 sets.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were giving away 3 sets to 3 different people. Ooh, there's gonna be one lucky person.
You know what? I'm gonna go out there on this, and I'm gonna say let's give 3 different sets to 3 different people.
Yeah. Ooh,
so we'll give away 9 sets altogether. 3 winners.
Ooh,
how's that sound?
All right, guys. I hope you were paying attention to his presentation.
All right. So I'm going to ask a question here from the presentation, and you just want to type this into the feed there, and then we'll go back after the show, Emmy and I, and we'll pick 3 winners, and we'll notify you via messenger. All right, so here is the question, you guys. Drum roll on it. You ready? All right, so Maya Blue. This is the ink that's from Mesoamerica. 300 CE. It melts together one special ingredient along with a type of clay called polygorskite. What was the other coloring agent? It comes from a plant. So what was that called? It's a color name, if that helps.
All right, I'm starting to see if there are answers coming through on the chat. We're starting to get some.
Excellent, excellent. All right, we're not going to give it away, so we'll let people go for it, and then, like we said, we'll go after the fact. So, are we ready to do the demo?
I think so. I'm excited.
All right, so I'm going to stop my share there, and I am going to switch cameras. And you should see that, and I'm going to see if I can get that a little bit brighter. There we go. Oh, that's going to be good. All right. Does it look good on your end?
It does. Look at those colors.
All right. See my hands there? Ooh, magic. All right. So let's talk about the materials real quickly, just to review what we have. I have a brush and a palette knife here that I'll be using today. Along with my inks, I've just got a simple canvas board that I'm using. You could also use a wood panel for this. You could use an illustration board, a lot of different materials. But I'm using a nice canvas board today. So let's look at some of the ink. So I mentioned the 30 ml bottles. Here you can see it a little bit more closely. A couple features you'll see there. We got the color index number. We have the transparency opacity symbol. This one's completely transparent, and it has a good light fast rating. This is the primary magenta, and there's that number I was talking about that you can match that up to the other acrylic products. Here it talks a little bit about the different applications on it, and you can also see that it's an ASTM safe product. Here we have the blue. This one's actually excellent light fast rating, again transparent. And here we have primary yellow. So I have the 3 primary colors. I've also got some black and white that I'm going to be using today. You can see where these are both opaque, so that's that dark square. You'll see different symbols. There are 4 altogether. So you've got the whites, which is transparent, the black, which is opaque, and then if it's half black, it's semi-opaque. If it's just a line through the middle, it's semi-transparent. I also have some of the specialty colors. All the specialty colors in the paints are also available in the ink. So I've got a couple of the metallics here, and these are super fun to work with. You can see that semi-opaque symbol there, and these are excellent light fast rating, and of course the color index numbers. They're also available in the larger bottles. That's what they look like. That's the 100 ml bottle. And then here's the largest bottle, and they're just the black and white in this larger size. You can kind of get an idea of the scale there. All right, so the first thing I wanted to do is just to show you how much pigment and color are in these particular inks. And I'm going to do that by mixing them with some different types of acrylic mediums. So this is not the project yet. I just wanted to show you the working properties, the saturation of color. So here's just a gel medium. I'm going to open that up. I did have a question the other day as I was doing this. You know, what's the grade of the mediums? All of the Amsterdam mediums are professional grade. There are no student grade Amsterdam mediums. All of these are professional materials. All right, I've got some of the pearl medium I'm going to use. Scoop some of that out. There we go. And then I've got some of the pumice medium. And you can use the Amsterdam inks with any brand of medium, any other type of acrylic paint, not just Amsterdam. So if you've got other materials in your toolbox already and wanted to try these out with them, you absolutely can. All right, so let's take a look inside the bottle. Well, one thing I always like to recommend, there really isn't a lot of acetylene, but I always like to mix it up just a little bit. And then I want to show you that pipette I was talking about. So you can kind of see how it's curved at the end. And that makes it really easy to control. All right, so I'm just going to put a little bit of ink. I'm going to do 3 drops on there of the blue on that one. I'm going to do the red on this one.
Now, while you're squeezing that out, we did actually have a question about if the eyedropper part of the bottle gets clogged. How would you recommend cleaning that out?
So it really easily. So it actually pulls out. You can pull this out. I'm not going to do it right now because I'll make a mess, but you can pull that little glass out and wash it in the sink, get it nice and clean and cleared out. You can even put a little Q-tip in there and then just push it back in. So really easy to clean it if it gets clogged. Good question. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and mix these in. And one thing I think you're going to see right away is just how quickly the color disperses through the medium. And that's the one thing I really love about it. So this is often something I will do. So instead of mixing acrylic paint into the medium to get color, I will mix these inks because I can use a lot less of it and still get a nice intense color. Now you can see it looks a little tinted to begin with, but that's because of the nature of the acrylic polymer medium. It's kind of milky white in its fluid form, but as it dries clear, and then you'll get this nice kind of transparent blue color in this case, or opaque depending on the color you use. So again, you can see the ink just picks up and spreads through there really, really nice. And this one's probably, these two here are really opaque compared to most mediums because they have the glass beads and the pumice in them. So it even kind of speaks more to the amount of color that's in these inks. And finally, the yellow in this pumice. This is the heavy pumice. One thing I really like about it too is because it's so fluid, you maintain a lot of the texture of these specialty mediums. Whereas you mix them with paint, you're adding kind of another amount of heavy body binder to it, so it changes the texture. Here we can add color to this and keep that really gritty textural surface of the medium. So another benefit there. So I'll kind of hold it up closer. So a great way to add color to any acrylic medium. All right. Now let's get into our project today. So this is called Pour, Drip, and Tip. And no, we're not going to be drinking, although you could be if you wanted to, I guess.
5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Glass of wine and we'll be in business. All right, so we're going to be using the pouring medium today. This is the only with 2 size bottles comes in. This is the 1000 ml. So I'm going to open that up and I'm going to use it here on my left side. And this is a 9x12 canvas. So I'm going to put down like about a 1/4 cup of the pouring medium. I'm just eyeballing. You can kind of see. I'm going to let that sit. Now, if you don't have pouring medium or it's just not available, another good substitution is the glazing medium. I like the gloss for this. And I'm going to do these side by side so you can kind of see how they react. They do have some slight differences, but they both work great for this project. All right, so I've got my medium down. Now what I'm going to do, so I poured. And now I need to let this medium spread out a little bit. Now, what I'm doing is not so much trying to cover the surface all the way. I'm just trying to get a nice even layer of the pouring medium to work in. You can make this as thick and thin as you want. The thicker it is, the more pigment dispersion you're going to end up with afterwards. If you want to cover the whole board, it's easy enough to pour more of this on there and spread it around with a palette knife, even if you like. All right, I'd say there's like 1/8 of an inch thickness, if that there. So now let's do the same thing with the glazing medium. Just trying to spread it out a little bit so I have a nice even
While
amount.
you're actually spreading that out, we did have a couple of questions here.
Sure.
Someone was asking, when you do use the ink with like a dip pen and you have it on a nib, what's the best way that you recommend cleaning the nib?
Well, with acrylics, if it's not dried on there, soap and water is the easiest thing. If it is dried on there, I'd recommend getting an acrylic remover. Matter of fact, this is what it looks like right here. So I've had it dry onto materials and I just soak it in this acrylic remover for a little bit and it comes right off.
How long would you say soaking it in that would take?
Oh, not very long, actually. Half an hour.
That's awesome. I have not used that and now I need a bottle.
So it works really well. I mean, I've used it on my brushes before, primarily is what I use it for, but I've also had it on different tools that I just, was having trouble scraping it off, and it just softens it up and makes it go right off. So it's really nice. All right, so let's go ahead and start dripping. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take two different approaches here so you can kind of see it side by side. So this was our pouring medium over here. I'm going to go ahead and take the blue. And on one, we're just going to let these inks disperse on their own without bothering them at all after we put them on there. So you can see already, just from the first one I put to the second one, how, for one thing, how pigment hungry the medium is, but also how well the inks disperse into the medium. We're getting these wonderful blooms, and it's just going to keep on going. And it's very organic. It's almost like it's alive, and you're just watching it grow. Over here, I'm going to be a little more random. All right, let's go ahead and add some of the red now. It's interesting, the ink kind of dances on the surface at first. It has this kind of fun effect to it. All right, you can also go back over the top of colors. And the wonderful thing is you will see that they will actually push each other. One note on this technique is that if you start to see colors get muddy, that means you've got more ink than medium and you want to add a little more medium to it. So you want to make sure that you're working the ink into the actual acrylic medium, be it the glazing medium or the pouring medium, so that you have this nice effect. You'll know right away. I call it sinking. So instead of blooming, when you drop the ink on and it just kind of sinks, that means you have more ink than medium.
Now, what is the dry time on both of these mediums?
So it'll start to tack up in about 30 minutes. And because we're working into such a thick coat of these fluid mediums, both of them, it really takes 24 hours to set up, but no more than that.
Now, we did actually have someone asking about the dry time of the ink. Is it faster or slower
It's
than
very
like
fast.
normal?
Yeah, if you're just brushing the ink onto paper or using a dip pen, it's going to dry very, very quickly, within minutes. All right, let's try some of the metallics. So this is the gold. These metallics are just gorgeous. One thing I like about the metallics, and the white does this too, and you'll see this as we go through this project, and you just keep telling me how much time we have.
Oh, you
This is
have plenty of time.
this is one of those mesmerizing type things where you can just do it and do it and do it and watch it and just really be enthralled and engaged. So this is the silver. All right, now let's go ahead and add a little white and black. I think I'm going to start with the black here. Now I'm going to go with some white.
It's absolutely crazy how far those pigments are
I
spreading.
know it. Remember
just
those?
by
These are the ones I did with the blue the first time.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to leave that one sit. We're just going to let that do its thing. But this one, we're going to do that last part. So we poured, drip, and now we're going to tip. So this is where you can start to get some fun kind of marbling techniques. Just let it go and look how it pushes the color. And then pigment kind of races to fill wherever there's medium at. It's like a poor man's pouring technique. But you don't waste or lose as much material like you do with pouring, right?
That's the one thing with pouring that always drives me crazy is that you get half of it running off your panel.
Yeah. So
and you do without the drippies.
Yeah. All right. So look at that fun. And then you can go back into it too. You can go and kind of pull.
Ooh.
You can do like little wisp.
And both of these mediums they're going to dry clear, right?
Yep, they dry completely clear. One thing really fun with this,
shine through, right?
Yeah, yeah. One thing that's really fun with these, I did this acrylic skins. Have you ever done acrylic skins?
I have. It's fun.
This is a great way to do that. So I'm working on a canvas panel. So if you're working on, you could do this on a piece of like wax paper or even on a disposable acrylic paint palette, and do these same processes on the paint palette. And then after 24 hours, peel them up and they make perfect skins that you can cut up and collage or just use into other works as well. It's really a great way to create some fun collage type images using acrylic skins.
Now we did just have someone ask, do the inks dry, like what's the sheen when they actually do cure?
So by themselves, they're matte, completely matte. A nice uniform, regardless of the color, you'll have the same surface matte feel, which is traditional for inks, right? You want that nice matte surface that isn't reflecting a lot of light. When you're using with them acrylic medium, so they take on the working property of the medium. So in this case, this is a gloss glazing medium. So this is going to have a very high gloss sheen compared to this one, which is the pouring medium, which is going to have more of that traditional acrylic look.
Very cool. All right, now we did have a couple more questions. These alcohol or the acrylic inks that you're using, can they be used also with alcohol, like alcohol inks or even isopropyl alcohol?
No, you don't want to add any alcohol into these inks. You're not going to. The acrylic polymer and the alcohol just don't get along really well. So I would not recommend that.
Yeah, no, I've definitely tried to use some some, because I watered down the ink a little bit further with a little bit of water, and then I blew bubbles with it. And as soon as I put any alcohol inks in there, that alcohol would break the surface tension, and they just don't play well together very much.
No.
But it's fun to experiment, and that's what a sketchbook is for.
Exactly. You know, it all depends too on your interest in the archivalness of the materials, right? So, you know, if you're just experimenting and you really don't care, or the work is more ephemeral, then go for it. You know, why not try to do some things like that? But if you're talking about doing something that's going to have a lifespan, then you want to be concerned or be considerate to the compatibility of the binder primarily. The coloring agents are the same, right? So it's really about the binder.
Now, speaking of coloring agents, someone was asking the oxide black. Where is that from? Like, what does that come from?
Oxide black is, well, let's go back to the presentation. So we've got oxide black or lamp black. So it's a type of soot. Most of them are petroleum based soot. So it's not, we're not burning any animals or whale fat or things like that. It's purely fossil fuel based in terms of the oxide pigment.
Very cool. I know the India ink, a lot of it comes from wood, burning wood, correct?
That's one source, yeah. So there's different sources historically. So the pigment in this, just to all the pick color indexes, PBK 7. So you can look up PBK 7 in your color index and learn more of it that way. Look at this one. We haven't done anything to it. Isn't it so cool? This is on its own. Just amazing to kind of see. And it's still going. And the thing that's really fun about it is it will continue to disperse as long as there's medium to absorb the pigment and as long as it stays fluid. Once the medium starts to set up, then it'll start to hold its shape.
I feel like everyone's going to start saying that they see a face in it.
So yeah, we'll see how much we'll drop a little bit of black in there and see how much medium's in these white areas. The different pigments too, there you can kind of see where they sink. So there's not a lot of medium to absorb there. Where they're starting to spread out, there's still medium to absorb the pigment. So kind of give you an example of how that looks. I love the way it just fills back in too. One thing you can do, like I'll take the white ink here, talking about the control you have. I'm going to go ahead and fill that up. You can actually pull this through and leave a white line and then just clean the nib off the pipette like that. So it's another way to put the ink into the mixture.
Now, can you add a drying retarder to these acrylic inks to make them dry a little bit slower?
You can, yeah. So the same acrylic retarders that you would use for slow drying medium.
Ooh, look at those colors.
You can really create, I love the white. Look at the white, how the pigment almost starts to become granular, like in these areas here. You get this kind of celestial or maybe like you're looking down from a plane. Really wonderful effects.
Almost reminds me of like reflections in water.
Yeah, and this is where I pulled the ink through with the pipette and just let it kind of disperse. And then you could kind of go back through it and
Now, we did have someone just ask, if you wanted to add detail to this pouring technique, can you paint on top of these inks?
Yes, absolutely. Once they're dry, you can paint over them as many layers of acrylic paint as you like. Absolutely.
Because it's essentially an acrylic, just very fluid, right?
Yep. Yep. It's a hyperfluid acrylic paint. So absolutely, any acrylics, you could layer these in at any point. You could put them down, use them as an underpainting, paint over the top of it. One way that I really like to use it, especially with the white and the black. So I paint primarily with heavy body acrylics. And when I want to get some fine lines or fine detail work, I've got to thin out the paint. Historically, I've had to thin out the paint, but that makes it more transparent, right? You're adding water to it. It's more transparent. So it's hard to get a really sharp, dark or light line. So using these with a brush, you can create a lot of wonderful detail in your painting because of the fluidity of this. It really is a wonderful way to add that kind of detail into the work without compromising.
Absolutely. I definitely do the same thing. It's one of my favorite things to use white ink or just a pure black ink on top of even the pouring, and then you can doodle on top of it, and you get such amazing little transitions. It's so much fun.
I should probably add too that these are great in a lot of different mixed media techniques. So acrylics in general are great for mixed media, right? And the same is true with these acrylic inks. So you can use them in combination with any other water media. You can use them with a lot of different dry media. So lots of potential to create some really, wonderful results in mixed media applications. And it's a great adhesive. I don't think it's as good as adhesive as like a heavy body acrylic, just because you have more mass, but you certainly could coat paper or fabric with this. And it would adhere really well.
That's so interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. There's so many things that we can do with these materials. It's incredible.
So I'm just going back to that question on the oxide black and the pigment. I wanted to double check that I was telling it, and it is true. So it's a carbon burning. The preferred way to make it today, they actually burn petroleum or natural gas and collect the soot from it. That's on an industrial scale. So there are different sorts of carbons that they use in the making of artist pigments often, but for the most part, it's a soot that's comes from that process. So PBK7. It's also called lamp black. This is oxide black, but lamp black is another word for it.
Well, we officially have the one on the left looks like a little lion cub face, and then the one on the right reminds people of the Grinch that stole Christmas.
Oh man, but it's I love the directness of this technique. I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras here so I can see everybody again. But it's such a easy project. You could do this. I've done this with kids before. They create some wonderful results, get some wonderful results. It's great for folks who have never touched a paintbrush or paint in their life to do this type of work. Some of these projects actually, and this one in particular, a couple of years back, I wanted to see, well, geez, what would this be like if people had never made art before? So I got some friends together who were not artists, had a little bit of wine, set up the stations and put them to work on it. And they just had a blast with it. So it's something that's really fun, whether you're an artist or not. There are a lot of ways that you can incorporate this into your work as an artist, but it's also something that's just fun to do in a gathering as well.
Definitely. Now let me switch our view here as well so everyone can see me and you at the same time. Jeff, that was an incredible demo. I am definitely going to have to go play with some acrylic ink. It's, as always, it's so inspiring to watch you just do little demos. And I mean, it takes you all of like 5 seconds to do this. And I'm like, I just want to. It's so much fun. But
it is a lot of fun, and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. And
yes,
talk to the folks that are out there. And thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure.
Definitely. It's always so much fun to have you on here. Everyone appreciates you joining us on the show. But to everyone who is watching, reminder, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes after we officially sign off here. If you want to plug in your answer for the quiz question that Jeff popped up, we are giving 9 sets of acrylic inks away, 3 to 3 different people. So there are going to be 3 different winners. Each person is going to have the 3 different sets that we have. Which are those again? Sorry.
It's the general set, which has these primary colors that I was working with today. I think there's also a white and a yellow ochre that goes in that. There's a lettering set that has more of the traditional lettering colors, but I think it also includes some of the metallics, and then a holiday set that has some of the specialty pigments in it too. Those are ones I didn't share today, but along with the metallics, there's also the pearl colors, which are the interference pigments, same as the ones in the regular acrylics, the Amsterdam acrylics. They're also available in the inks, so you can get those wonderful pearlescent effects. And then also the reflex colors, which are the neon colors. So you can really make these pop, with the reflex colors in the inks.
Well, if you are interested in checking those sets out, reminder, if you go to the website, jerrysartorama.com, and type in today's class code, which is JL219, sorry, just double checked, JL219, those sets I threw into the teacher's cart just so you guys could check them out. But again, I'm going to give you about 10 more minutes to pop in your answer into the chat so you can quickly zoom back through. The quiz question was right before his demo, cough, cough, hint, hint. But you can go quickly zoom back in.
Go back, watch the episode again. Maya Blue. What was the coloring agent for Maya Blue?
So make sure you go try to answer those questions and pop your answer into the chat below, because after 10 minutes, once we sign off, that is the cutoff time, and we are going to be choosing our winners from the people that did get the answer correct, not just put in an answer, but get it correct. So thank you again for joining us. It was such a pleasure. And everybody, just a quick reminder, I am not going to be on Jerry's Live next week because we are going to be doing all of the craziness that is AOC, Art of the Carolinas. I'm excited because you guys get to actually see my face and all, the whole Jerry's Live crew in person. We are going to be going live from Art of the Carolinas. I believe it's going to start on Thursday, and then it might pop up throughout the weekend, but it's going to be different pop-up times just depending on what time we have available, because it's Art of the Carolinas. It just gets crazy. But there will be no Jerry's Live next Tuesday. Now, the Tuesday after that, so on the 9th, is the week of Art of the Carolinas, so no show. But on November 16th, I am coming back, and we're going to have our gift guide show. So you guys can join me then. And it's going to be so much fun. I have a lot of different things that are amazing, different products for all the artists in your life, or yourself, if you want to just give yourself a gift, But that was the show, Jeff. It was such a pleasure. We will see you so
much. Thank you. It was great seeing everybody.
All right. Adios, everybody.